this Christian buzzword that I learned a long time ago, right when I got saved my freshman year of high school. I remember hearing the word accountability fly around, and what I gathered was that it meant something along the lines of having somebody in your life to make sure you didn't mess up. And maybe there's part of that that's true, but as I've walked with the Lord and grown in my understanding of God, I can honestly say that that's such a tiny portion of what true accountability really is and the power in it. Accountability is so much more than that. I think people are typically really afraid of having accountability because I think there's a lot of fear and shame around the threat of messing up. But if we actually just understand true accountability, healthy accountability on a deeper level, it actually brings freedom. It actually brings a measure of safety and protection and trust inside of relationships and with yourself. My father-in-law actually says this sometimes. He says, we need to be able to give an account for our ability. And the implication there is that actually you have the capacity to be this amazing stewarder of the life that God's given you, the sex drive that He's given you, the talents and gifts that He's given you. You actually have the responsibility to live into that and become all that God's created you to be. And when we invite other people to speak into our lives, we're inviting the input that I think God often puts in our lives in the form of other people to remind us what our capacity is. Who were you created to be? What is it that you were designed for? And we actually have to give an account of that to the community around us. That's actually amazing because it ensures that if we submit ourselves inside of community and invite the input of others into our lives and into the way that we make decisions, our chances of actually reaching our potential and becoming all that God created us to be is even that more possible, which is amazing. I remember the season of life that I was in when I first kind of started to figure this out. I was dating a guy at the time. I realized, man, I seem to be coming around the mountain a lot in this relationship. We keep messing up in the same areas. We never had sex, praise the Lord, but we absolutely crossed boundaries. We kept coming around the same mountain again and again. And truth is, the relationship wasn't super healthy for me, but it wasn't until I actually identified a spiritual dad in my life that I invited to give me input. I actually decided, okay, I clearly don't know what I'm doing in this area of my life, or I would have already done it. So I'm gonna invite somebody to speak into this area of my life that has grown in this area, that has seen success, that has learned how to steward well this area of our sexuality and our relational life. So I invited a spiritual dad or an older brother in to actually help keep me accountable to my ability. And so it was no longer about this list of do's and don'ts and are you making the mark today, Lauren? It was more so like, hey, this is who you're created to be. Are the choices you're making today matching the capacity that God's given you to be amazing? And what I noticed was, as soon as I invited that type of input into my life, I grew leaps and bounds, and cycles that I didn't ever know could be broken were broken. And my life completely changed course. And it had everything to do with inviting someone to speak into this area of my life and help keep me accountable to the capacity that God gave me. So I want to say this: fear is a really bad motivator for anything. It leads you down the wrong path, and actually it drives you into a place of hiddenness and isolation. But the Bible tells us that actually to live in the light is freedom, and to expose what's going on the inside, good, bad, ugly, whatever, actually brings a level of freedom that you were created to live in. But we don't get there by staying hidden in isolation in the darkness. We get there by allowing in the light, exposing whatever it is, and empowering people around us to speak into our lives.